Well, onwards to the next dungeon, one that's gonna be one where we restore the first of the 4 crystals, though I'm sorry to say, I doubt we'll restore that first crystal within this clip. Not if I'm remembering the back and forth we're gonna have to do here correctly. Well, since we entered the dungeon, let's slow things down. It's certainly fresh territory compared to the overworld at this point, and more likely to throw some different random encounters at us. I'm actually pretty surprised we fought few if any snakes so far in the game before now. I was kind of expecting them to be about as common as the wolves, really. Yeah, looks like Fear is a pretty good solution to a large number of snakes coming at us. Blizzara probably would have been the better choice, using the cold-based attack to kill the cold-blooded reptiles, but Fear costs fewer magic points and it gets the job done. By the way, the whole raw thing at the end of a word to say it's a multi-hit spell, I'm not sure I like that. On the one hand, it's nice that there's a slightly different spelling, instead of the game just saying multi-hit fire or fire class 2 or something like that, and it certainly saves on space. Considering we couldn't fully write out Boromir's name, yeah, we don't have a hell of a lot of space to work with around here for the text boxes. But on the other hand, it just sounds weird to say. Fira sounds like a girl's name, not a devastating attack that has an area of effect. Huh. If that's an earth elemental, shouldn't it look a bit more earthy? The green smoke around that demonic genie thing makes me think it's either a wind-based monster or there's some kind of poison involved here. Seriously, if someone is classified as a monster that's linked to the earth somehow, wouldn't it make more sense to have some plants draped on it or have it look like it's made of stone? It's not a major thing. I'm sure that this design is essentially going to be like the wolves, and we'll see a number of recolors of it as we keep going forward across the game. Still, it felt worth being confused by. Anyway, it looks like Tyson is having some trouble at this point. He's definitely going to need a lot of healing, and I don't think our supply of potions is going to last if this is the quality of enemies we're going to run into down here before we've even left the first floor. Okay, bit strange that there's 1975 gil in the chest. That kind of feels like an oddly specific number to me. I can't really see anything about the news of the year 1975, so probably not some kind of subtle tribute to something thrown into the game. Though, in that random internet search, I did learn that 1974, the Japanese Prime Minister of the time, Iesaku Sato, was the first ever Asian to accept the Nobel Peace Prize. I'm not too sure why signing a treaty with over 80 other signing nations at the time warrants earning the Peace Prize. Not that it seems to be a bad treaty by any means, but when someone gets something like the Nobel Peace Prize, I expect that they did something absolutely amazing for humanity as a whole. I know. That's not in any way relevant to what's going on in the game right now. It just felt interesting enough to share. And now we have another thing that looks like a genie of some kind. In the game, it's calling it a Gigas. It doesn't look like a giant from Greek mythology, but I suppose the God of War franchise has messed with my perception of things like that. And again, this isn't really giving me the sense that we've entered the dungeon that will let us restore the Earth Crystal. If anything, I was expecting varying kinds of golems, plant monsters, maybe the occasional sandworm, maybe some creatures that make it easier to believe that the trouble here is actually making the land less fertile somehow. But it's pretty hard to feel too annoyed by that sort of theming around here when we're fighting, because this game is so incredibly old. They are just flinging monsters at us without too much thought in the various areas we've been to so far, with a little to nothing that feels like they are following any kind of design philosophy. Not that there's anything wrong about throwing Minotaurs at us randomly as we try to move forward, it just... As a side note, I probably should have had Morn use a cure spell here, but frankly, Wesker's melee attack is more pathetic than Morn's, at least by a small amount, so yeah, having him throw potions for now. Though considering how many magic points we've spent for Wesker so far, I don't think we're gonna get especially deep into this dungeon this time around. And this is certainly a dungeon that's showing how the PSP version of the game, increasing the health of the monsters you face, makes things in some ways more difficult. Because I do not recall having any real trouble fighting my way to the vampire in this dungeon in the Pixel Remaster. Sure, the fact that you can have more magic spells ready in this version of the game makes up for that, but dear God, in the Pixel Remaster, if you feel the desperate need to retreat, all you really need to do is push one button to turn off random encounters. So, we kinda do need more resources like the White Mage's MP in case things go really bad on the way out. Sure, that is a cheat, not really an honorable way to go through the game, but it's just such an easy cheat to activate in the Pixel Remaster as it is to just outright pause the game. One button, no code to enter anywhere. So why not use it when you're getting into deep trouble that you didn't quite see coming? The PSP version doesn't have that little convenient cheat, just like it doesn't offer you the in-game map to see where you are and where various items will be. It actually makes me wonder at what point making things more convenient in a game makes the experience objectively worse. Kinda weird to think about, really, because I just have a lot more fun playing through the PSP version of Final Fantasy I than the Pixel Remaster. And I cannot tell if that's because the PSP version still has some of the frustrating elements from the original release, or if I'm just that against the magic charge system from the original game. Now that's another Earth Elemental down. Are we just gonna keep running into those things as we go from one treasure chest in this dungeon to the next? Really getting the sense that the amount of money we gain from these chests is absolutely random. 880 from the one we just went through? 1,975 from an earlier one? Okay, and apparently we just get random encounters against Earth Elementals if we're in a room that has chests, regardless of if we can loot them or not anymore. I suppose if I wanted to grind for experience points at a good rate, this would be a nice place to do so. But I'm not really aiming to do outright grinding at the moment. If at all possible, I just want to get to the boss, kick his ass, and then move on to the next one. And any experience points we gain along the way is just incidental. Okay, so we don't really have enough health yet to justify using high potions all that much. Boromir is probably that meaty if we let him take that much abuse. And Tyson is also kind of getting to that point, but for Morn and Wesker, regular potions are the only things that we should really use on them. And unfortunately, we're running pretty low on them before we've even gotten to the second floor of this place. This is the largest dungeon we've run into in the game so far. If we're burning through resources, both potions and our Black Mage's MP, this fast, then there's no way we're gonna get to the vampire in the first dive into the dungeon. Not that I'm in a hurry to beat the game and all that. There's no timer. We can finish things at our own pace. It's just a nice feeling to smoothly go from one end of a dungeon to the other to finish things off. Still, there's no way I'm going to be inclined to stick around as we lose more and more resources as we grab all the items we can on our way to the next major battle. I'm probably gonna wait to run out of potions before falling back. Using our White Mage's Cure spell is my emergency solution to us no longer having that critical resource. I'm not really sure it really matters that much that we have a preemptive strike or not when we're getting into fights this frequently down here. That antidote would probably be more appreciated if it felt like the enemy was pretty likely to poison us in the numerous fights we've gone through so far. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a chance for the snakes to inflict poison, but since they haven't, it's hard to consider it as much of a threat as I probably should. Maybe I'm just overly lucky in that regard or something. Definitely a lot easier to deal with just 2 snakes at once than 6. Certainly no need to spend any black magic against that. And here comes enough of them to warrant us using Fira again. Definitely doesn't feel like we can pull that off too many more times. Hell, we would have had a lot fewer shots of that in the Pixel Remaster. Funny how the Pixel Remaster makes things both easier and tougher than the PSP version. Second floor, and I'm very likely to pull back soon. Still, let's see if we can grab anything before we leave. Another 6 snakes. It's not like they're especially dangerous that makes them annoying. It's that I feel pretty much obligated to have Wesker wipe them all out in one fell swoop. But at 15 MP per shot, unless your Black Mage has an obscene amount of stamina, then you aren't just going to be able to keep spitting that out all the damn time. Hell, just the fact that his MP has gone down to the double digits is enough of a sign for me that we should get out of here for now. At the very least, the random encounters around here are doing a good job of making me feel intimidated, going through our first major challenge. Here's hoping the boss fight when we're done with all these guys lives up to my mental hype. Though it's just as likely that we'll be so strong after fighting against all these bastards on the way to the vampire, that the vampire himself ends up feeling simple in comparison to the sheer horde of bodies we are going to be leaving in our wake, assuming they didn't keep disappearing. Okay, apparently that was the last random encounter in the dungeon for the moment. I'm just going to fast forward our way to when I finally get back to the second floor of the Earth Cave. The next bit of progress in the dungeon will have to wait for the next clip, I'm sorry to say. Partly because the sheer amount of footage in the next bit of raw material I have to work with is over 40 minutes long, and I generally prefer to keep these clips under half an hour. And partly because I feel like we've done a solid amount of progress for one clip, even if we haven't managed to make any story progress, though. We have a better idea of what we're in for in the Earth Cave, at the very least, and can better prepare ourselves for the long trek down. We've certainly gained enough money for some of these spells, that's for sure. Though apparently Morn isn't high enough level to actually learn them yet, even if we have the money for them. That's certainly a unique brand of annoying, all things considered. I kind of wish our only limits were our money and our MP, but I suppose they had to keep that aspect from the original release to keep things relatively balanced. Wesker's got the same problem here. Speaking of annoying, why is it that Melmond doesn't have any item stores? Guess we're going all the way back to Cornelia, the first town in the game, just for the sake of grabbing some more potions. I possibly should have grabbed more potions, considering the amount of random encounters in the place. Right. Wesker, you're back up to full MP. Hope everyone else on the team is ready for another dive into the Earth Caves. I just wish that the commute to the caves was shorter. But unfortunately, Melman doesn't have a critical item shop. Part of me wants to say that's because the shop owner is among the people who died there. But you'd think there'd be something left of the stockpile of things they planned to sell. Unless, of course, someone wants to claim that the entire stockpile of healing items was completely spent trying and failing to prevent so many people from dying and requiring the town to get so many damn gravestones. And here we are, back to the cave.